Your patience. We're running a little bit late here today. I just got back from our new Braveheart Nation studios. I did a one a day about 20 minutes ago. And I'm going to tell you something. We will have the most amazing studio for Braveheart Nation and for bringing people in from all around the world that want to share their gift. And that's what this is about. Braveheart Nation is about the most powerful, courageous family alive. And I want to talk about something today that involves two dear friends of mine, and that would be Jake and Brent. And they're going to be coming on in a few minutes. They'll be doing the show. They'll be doing the talking. I'll opt in a teeny bit, but they're the ones with the most beautiful, life-changing, life-saving message. And I'm telling you right now that Be Brave Worldwide is going to be one of our shows on the Braveheart Nation channel, okay, on the Braveheart Nation channel. And listen to this. This is the show that saves the world. So everybody, you love that story. What was it about 10 years ago? Oh my God, the bees are dying. Oh my God, the bees are dying. If without the bees, we're going to die. It's the end of the world. Let me tell you something. If I was paid just even $100 for every time the end of the world was coming, I probably could retire. And that's what everybody, because people actually think the end of the world's coming right now, and it's not the end of the world. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's the beginning of the new world where we are actually rising into our power. I'm going to tell you something, just something very truthful. Up until I was around the age of 28 to 32, I just wanted to fit in, okay? I wanted to be the savior for people. I wanted to cure people. Well, guess what? We've just found out we can't cure people. They got to cure themselves. That's the first thing. Next thing is I can't be anybody's savior. We need to save ourselves. We have everything inside of ourselves. And did you ever know that every time that they declare it's the end of the world, somebody like Brent, okay, who's coming on in a minute, comes up with something because he's that far out there, okay? He's universal. And he comes up with something and he creates this what's called a pure wave magnet that when you put it into a beehive, it not only at the end of the beehive season, when most bees have died off, most colonies have died off, even half or more, because of all of the different frequencies, and now 5G being the most powerful. And guess what? Now we've got in these beehives double the colony we started with, so now we got to split it. And then guess what? Then he finds out that this pure wave magnet that you see right here, up on here, this pure wave magnet, it doesn't just do that, but it actually helps to heal and realign the cells of not just the bees, but humans. Not just humans, but pets. And then if you actually put your food on it, it purifies it. If you run it over your body, it helps to relieve pain. Okay, if you put it in your fridge, your vegetables and fruit are going to last for days longer. You want me to keep going? No, I let them do the show because Jake and Brent are the ones who put this together. And they have like Dr. Magda Havas that does all the studies. I mean, she's only the most renowned professor, okay, researcher in Canada. Look up her name to understand something. All I'm going to say is game on and be brave. And we're going worldwide with this. What do you think, gentlemen?
Well,
hey, listen, go ahead, Jake.
Daryl, go ahead, Brent. I've got so much to say. I'll contain it. Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
No, I will say, Daryl, just glad to be back with you, brother. It's been a pleasure. First of all, getting to meet you last year and then starting to work with you now, just phenomenal. And what you're doing out there is second to none. So my very, very dear and warm greetings to you, and glad to be back. And then Jake, this is your first time doing this, I think, with Daryl. So my compadre Jake is a first time in here. So it's just exciting, you know.
Yeah, and it's the name Be Brave. The theme of this is really to support all of you and Braveheart Nation. This Be Brave, although the theme you'll start hearing and learning. And just to let everybody know, you guys, Thursdays, 1 p.m. Eastern, we're here talking on these various topics. the bee relationship and the pollinator relationship is critical to all of survival. You know, about 1,400 different main crops and plants rely on pollination. And without the pollinators, all the good supplements, all the good herbs, all the good organic produce, we're not having access to this. So it's more than just talking about the bees, talking about what's happening in the colony collapse. What's causing these things? The bees are an indication species, everyone. They tell us ahead of time what's affecting the human. So we're going to share a lot of great information. Like Brent said, we've been working in this field directly and indirectly with the bees for the past 10, 15 years plus. We have our histories and backgrounds you'll learn about throughout the show. But ultimately, we're excited to be here. It's an honor to be here. Thank you, Daryl, for leading the way. And Brent, you know, I always love when we do some of these shows that we've been doing over the last few months to introduce ourselves so people understand kind of our backgrounds a little bit, but then also get into the healing components of our Pure Wave honey, talking about the cell, the sacred geometry, the shape, the design for which what makes it unique, what makes it so beneficial and supportive in the healing process, what it's doing to the bees, what it's doing to the bee hives, which are just really another example of the hives that we all live in our homes. And the same effects, the same things that are affecting them are affecting us. So, Brent, why don't you take it away for a little bit? Tell us a little bit about the background of this technology that we have discovered, because I think it's such an important part of what brings us into the Pure Wave cell and the Pure Wave honey, that all of you guys I'll be posting some links, things of this nature, where you can access all this information right on docofdetox.com for all Braveheart Nation. So this is something you're going to have plenty of resources throughout the weeks and months. But I want to give Brent an opportunity, because this story is profound. The story of what got us to connect with the bees and what started to make a difference, like Daryl was talking about, is this unique design, the shape, the algorithm. So Brent, where do you want to start with that? I know I gave you not just a ball, but a boulder, but run with it.
Yeah. No. So what I thought we'll do is, first of all, we'll let the audience know that we're going to come every Thursday. And because there's so much subject matter here, what we thought we'd do today is just give you a general overview of everything. And then what we'll do is we'll bring you back every Thursday at 1:00. That's when we seem to have dedicated this. And we'll have specific topics to talk to you about that are fascinating. It's just, there's so much that we decided that we would put together 8 shows in individuality, and they all tie back together. So I just wanted to put that out first, is that this is the first of these original 8 shows that we're going to do. So just check in here at Be Brave and Braveheart every Thursday at 1. That's 1:00 our time.
Eastern.
So that might be, this would be Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, Eastern Standard Time, right?
You're on, Daryl.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I just wanted, if I can say this, and then I'll let you guys get right back to your show, because it is your show. Okay? And that's this, is that everyone out there, just so you know, until Monday, okay, this coming Monday, midnight Monday, all right, anybody that understands what they're talking about, okay, we will have if I can have the screen, please. We will have the Pure Wave honey. If you buy one, 20% off. 2 or more, 30% off. And we'll do the same thing with the Pure Wave magnet, okay? So I'm going to let you guys carry it away. I'll come on at the end, because I really need to have the most valuable information on this, and it's not coming from me. And I'll just come on at the end, but maybe as people come on, you guys can let them know what we are going to do for them with the sale. Thank you. Take it away, guys.
Excellent.
Okay,
And
thanks, Daryl.
thank you,
So,
Daryl.
You're welcome.
yeah. So again, that would be Eastern Standard Time. So enough of that. Now, so we'll start in an overview. And in the very beginning, as Daryl said, when he was in his 20s and 30s, so in my original occupation and profession was basically in heavy in math and algorithms for things like for moving money around. I started a company in the 90s, late 90s, called Tangerine Concepts, and what we were doing was we were doing fintech. We were basically starting up and doing the original algorithms that had to do with moving money so that you could do what's called debit and credit today in those days. But what happened to me, so I would be in my 30s at the time and was heavily into that. That was my background. But because of that math background, what always fascinated me from a spiritual, almost a religious standpoint was where all these geometric shapes came from, because I would see them everywhere. I would see them in churches. I would see them in every nationality and every religion. And so, and they were known as things, as you see, from 6-pointed stars to 5-pointed stars to the flower of life, and all these things that we've come to know greatly today. But in those days, they were sort of abstract. So as I started digging into it, I went back into history and started looking from the Sumerians to the Egyptians, and it was carved into stone walls. It wasn't even something that was simple. It was everywhere. And then I noticed it in all religions. And we'll get into this in future shows in detail, what this looks like. And you'll start seeing it everywhere. You'll see it in all church windows. You'll start to see it in corporate signias and all kinds of things. So what came out of that, and I'm going fairly quickly here, is that I realized that there was a specific diagraphic shape that was prominent, and it was called the star tetrahedron, or 6-pointed star. Some people see it on the Star of David, the Hebrew flag, and that tied into the flower of life, and really it tied into quantum physics. So what I found out was all of this has to do with quantum physics, which is the atom itself at a cellular level. And so what I found out by going through these specific diagrams or geometric forms, and they're all mathematical, is that by adding a glue to it, such as magnetism or magnets, is I could bond that shape, and by bonding the shape, I could lock in that algorithm, just like you can for a phone, or how you'd lock it in for doing any kind of other frequencies, because everything is frequency. Everything is vibration. So the only difference is between one object and another is what it vibrates, or what frequency it's at. So what then happened is I found out that all plant life, all animal, insect, you, me, everyone, we all come from a same blueprint. We come out of this math. We come out of this geometry. And therefore, by capturing it, the cells respond to it. It's like food for them. So I found out in the 50s, there's a thing called pulse electric magnetic frequency. They sent astronauts out into space, and their whole bodies ached. They ached and wouldn't stop aching. And they found out it's because it was outside the Earth's pulse electric magnetic frequency. We'll have another show on this as well. And so they had to reproduce it. And that's what led me to understanding all of the why our cells respond to these frequencies. And so then I became, when I sold my company in the late 2000s, I dedicated myself into the research of really getting to the bottom of this. What can this do? And so we did a lot of tests, and starting with, I realized I had to collaborate with other people who were in the frequency world, and that's where Jake and I met. Jake was already had a life of being in what was called frequency medicine, biofeedback, and so we met at around this time, around 2011, somewhere around there. And I was in the midst of building what Jake is showing you right now. I was building a geodesic sphere to do all this testing in, so it blocked out all bad frequencies. And this is where I started. And you can see behind our head there is the flower of life. That's the flower of life that goes on and repeats itself. but you're looking at a two-dimensional object of a three, which is really the cell itself, or the atom to the cell itself. And so this is where basically we got into meeting Jake and myself, and he was involved. I'm going to let him tell you a little about his background, which was involved in biofeedback. So Jake, tell him a little bit about that, and then how we came together, and then we'll get into how we got to the bees.
No, great. Thank you, Brent. So my background is I'm a son of two natural health professionals, like Darrell Wolfe. Grew up in a clinic in Boulder, Colorado, helping my dad learn about natural medicine principles. And I got to apply those through my my school, my athletic career, being able to learn how natural and energy medicine affected and healed the body. Many of that in that space was understanding when you remove the elements of distraction and chaos, the body has a remarkable ability to heal itself. And this innate intelligence that all of you, if you're listening to this show, or if you're new to the Braveheart Nation, you're starting to learn that nature has a lot of the answers. And we don't have to try to force or impose a different model. We sometimes have to detox, like the doc of detox. We have to remove some of these elements. And so by growing up in that, I finished school, was starting to help many different holistic health professionals attain the frequency medicine products. And from biofeedback, neurofeedback, light therapy, pulsating electromagnetic frequency, PEMF systems. And then, of course, ran in and met my partner, Brent Knudsen, where he was in the midst of building this amazing structure called the Chrysalis Geodesic Sphere. And I'm going to share it again so you guys can see this. This doesn't do it justice. There's other angles we'll share later in the shows. But from there, we're going to talk about, Brent, I want to propose something. I want to get your feedback real quick. The short segment of the story we need to remember, talking about the sacred geometry, is that something we want to play right now for everybody? Because
what I thought we could do,
because it's just so profound in the context of all this. So go ahead. It
is. Well, what I thought for this show, because this is kind of like a teaser show, there's so much to cover, and we don't want to overwhelm everybody. So what we could do is bring up the mitosis and show everybody how all of us start, whether it's the bees, plants, us, animals, we all start at a cellular way through mitosis. I'd love for you to show them how they first formed their first 6 cells, and all of us. So this would bees, animals, this is confirmed so that they can see the blueprint of life that we're talking about here. So if you can go through there, so on that shape, but then if we get to, so get to the mitosis, and then we'll do a show on this and give the total backgrounds of it, right? Yeah, here we go. So everybody that's watching this is actual live mitosis of how all of us first formed. This is how you were formed, how I was formed, how bees are formed, how your pets were formed. So go ahead, Jake, show this, and then they'll understand why I followed this blueprint.
Perfect. There's a sound, there's vocals, so I didn't want to overrun you. Here we go.
No problem.
And that we are all intrinsically connected by it. The star tetrahedron and the flower of life are the geometric blueprints of this profound architecture. Today, the star tetrahedron and the flower of life pattern can actually be seen on a microscopic level through mitosis, the process of cell division and the creation of life. Humans begin as a single cell. That cell then multiplies into 2 cells, and these 2 cells then multiply into 4 cells, in a multiplication pattern that continues trillions of times over until we are formed. When observed through a microscope, we could see that this growth pattern is literally mirrored by the pattern of the star tetrahedron and the flower of life symbols, giving us further evidence that these geometric patterns represent the creative power of all matter. Furthermore,
Okay,
within
stop
each
it
one
there,
of us,
Jake.
there are over 100.
Perfect.
So for everybody checking in now, we'll do a whole show on really tying this all together. But as you saw, each one of us and each animal and insect on this planet, that's how we first form. And that's what I captured. I captured that blueprint, that language, and put it in a form. And that's what the pure wave cell is. The pure wave cell that we're going to be talking about and that we put in beehives and that we use for cleaning food and all of that. The reason it works is because it counters the frequencies that are dealing with that the cells don't like. So the reason we get disease, or as you know, that the cells weaken, is because it's something that the cells are interfered with. So what the pure wave cell does, and we'll show you some pictures of the inside. And yes, here we go. So now you can see there's the pattern. The very pattern that we were showing you through mitosis is now magnetically glued into this form. And what happens is they are powerful magnets that are trying to come together, and we don't let them. They have to be specifically to this. I spent years testing to exactly the diagram that worked. It's like any recipe. It's like when you do a cake. If one thing's off, it doesn't taste the same. It's not the same. So this has to be like this. And then we lock it in through the magnets, and then it's forced to create this force that comes around the pure wave cell. And it emanates out a foot in strength and then weakens out of there. So everything that we do with humans and pets and here you can see, here's a great example of seeing how liquefied spiral energy vortex shows the frequency coming off the pure wave. And then you can see the unique pattern at the bottom of the screen that actually shows different than it looks like inside, because that's how the frequency comes off. So we just wanted to touch on that to let everybody know this is what the pure wave cell is. And we'll do another show to really bear down so that you can get all the particulars on that. And of course, when it goes into the hives, this then boosts up the bee immune system, and that's really all we're doing. We're building their immune systems up, and man, when you do that, do great things happen. So this we'll go back then, Jake, and start back into our story about how you and I got together, and then how we elevated this into the bee world. Because when Jake and I first get together, Jake was dealing on human health exclusively. And I was really fascinated by just learning all about those frequencies and then tying it into what I was doing. And that's how the two of us ended up going and about, I think it was like 2014, 2015, we started doing our first major test with bees and beehives. And that went phenomenal. And we'll do a whole show on that as well, as to how we did those testings, what was going on with them, because as I say, it's a lot to cover in just an hour right now. And then that when Jake and I went into that end of it, that's when the world changed. So, and that's where we started to get into producing this incredible honey. This honey comes out of those hives, out of those bees, which then goes back, supports the beekeepers. So we're bringing on beekeepers every year, more and more and more and more beekeepers. We're into thousands of hives now, but we build this as one beekeeper and many hives at a time. So we're straying it out. We're now we started out up here in Canada. We're now in Hawaii. We're down into Florida. We're going into Virginia. So we'll be spreading all through the States. But we want it today to let you know a lot more about the honey, where that's coming from. And letting you know that these shows, if you want to tune into us, we will do whole shows that will fascinate you just on the bees themselves, what else they do, how their frequencies work, what these food sources work for you. But again, I'm going to stop here because this is an initial taster, and I'm going to let Jake talk a little bit about how he came into it, and we were going through with the beekeepers, and then we want to get into the honey and showing you, well, we want to show you more about the cell and more about the honey, but just teasers. Okay, Jake, so you can go from there.
Thanks, Brent. And so, to pick things up where Brent left off, when we came together, it was all surrounding the human frequency health and technologies. And there is a part of our production process, which will have more meaning later, but it's called the Chrysalis Energizer, which is a beautiful instrument that is over 200 pounds. It's a large table that has this amazing components that literally combine these three ingredients that make this profound quantum field. And that is magnetism and motion, and of course, then shape and the field, which create this field. This is where these cells, the pure wave cell that Daryl referred to and that Brent's referred to, came out of. And in the research, Brent did I'm going to tell a little story about what introduced us into the profound effects on bees. Now, I don't think I have to review with everyone the importance of the bees. We kind of touched on that at the beginning. But as an indication species, when the bees, and the thing about the bees, you guys, the thing about the insect world and these pollinators is the blessing that they are, is that they don't have a human consciousness field. So they are not operating at the same, I call it, level or dimension as the human condition. And that's okay. But there's a blessing in that, because they are not, as far as we are aware of, attaching their outcomes of their lives based on, let's say, their childhood traumas, or let's say an accident they got into. And maybe they are, Brent, who knows? I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are all have these different personalities. My point is, there's more an objective relationship with results or outcomes when you're looking at the bee population. For example, does the cell make a difference or not with the bees? That production of honey, the less mites in the hives we discovered, the support to the immune system by raising the vibrational energy of the hive, had outcomes, which was, like Daryl mentioned at the beginning, splitting of hives late in the season, swarming, which isn't good for honey production, but it's great for the vibrancy of a hive, to less mite counts, which are the varroa mites. That's a major leading cause, everybody, of the colony collapse. A parasite, it's a mite, but it acts as a parasite, just like the parasites that affect us in the human condition. What happens? Why can two people enter into an environment and exit and be exposed to the same energy or parasites or germs or influence or radiation and have different effects? Well, it's simply the resiliency and the vibrancy of their cells, of their immune system. And so looking at what this does in the hive, it helps create an environment for which their immune system gets to operate the way it was intended to be used. And that's where it's translating back to the human side, which I'm super excited about, because what we're discovering with the healing components of magnets, this is not new, right? There's the Japanese, there's been magnetic bracelets, things like this for years, decades in our industry. Many of you may have a magnetic bracelet, things, but it's the shape, it's the specific cut, design, and the way it's compiled that creates this unique field, torus field. And I can't wait. Maybe that's something I think next week we're going to rearrange. I believe we tell the history, the past of the sacred geometry, because that is a cornerstone of building on what makes this honey unique and what makes the cell unique. But back to the value of the bees, they were fun to work with. But we have to remember something, Brent. The steward of the bee and the beekeeper, that's how we have a relationship to the bees. It has to go through the human elements, and that's created. And so we realize the protectors, the shepherds of these hives have to be a major component of our are getting the cells out there. You know, we're not going and sneaking on people's property, sticking in cells. And no, it has to be in a collaboration with the beekeeper, because they're the ones sending us reports and the data. And is it making a difference in this hive versus this hive? And that research is ongoing, everyone. And so by you supporting us, by trying the products through docofdetox.com/4Bs, you guys, I put it in the link. I don't know if you can see the link. Carla, if you can post that to the group. I don't know if that's available for everyone. That's where you can access and learn more about it. But honey is also just delicious, you guys. It's just a delicious food. And I love getting to taste our honey's unique. It's raw creamed. It's not over pasteurized and heated, and it's not the honey bear. I want to do just a public service announcement regarding the honey and quality of honey out there. There's a lot of artificial honey, and the sweeteners, whether it's made with corn syrup or cornstarch, you guys be careful of that. Those are really toxic, and those just wreak havoc on your body. There's also importation bans from places like China regarding the artificial honeys. So just something to be aware of. You're probably already aware of that. I just want to make a note of it. I always let people know, because I think for the masses, which you guys aren't, if you're listening to Braveheart Nation and you're tuned in here, I know you're not just, you are awakened. You're part of the solution. You get this stuff, but it's something always good to remind people. And you can pay that forward too, to the people in your influence, that start paying attention to those labels. There should be one ingredient in your honey, just one, and that's honey. That's honey. But back to the journey, working with Brent, doing that first initial research with Christine at the it was a Canada organic seed company. They had hives. They reached out to an ad, and Brent they responded to an ad that Brent put out there to inquire if there was any beekeepers that wanted to be part of the research. And the results were just profound. I remember coming up and us doing some of the end result documentation, and we have videos of this, you guys, and the beekeepers and their experiences. But just the quality of that frame, I'll never forget, that Christine showed us, Brent. That quality of the frame, fully, beautifully capped. Each hexagon was filled and just tended to with the utmost care, was one of the most extraordinary things I've seen. And that was the real wake-up call for me that, okay, these cells are making an impact here. And then from there, started growing one beekeeper at a time, while also we've done some other amazing research in regards to pathogens in food, and then the food preservation, things like that. So, Brent, I'm going to pass the ball back to you. Do you want to share a little bit?
Jake, you know what? Sorry, you know what I think we should do now, just to put some entertainment into this, because we're going to get. So we did an overview for everybody, but it's there's so much. So what I thought we could do, Jake, show them a little bit of a video that we have on the Pure Wave cell, and then we'll show the video on the Pure Wave honey. A lot of that stuff is going to give them the visuals. They're going to hear from some beekeepers a little bit. And that way we can show them a taster on that, and then we can drill in other shows. We'll post that we're going to get, you can just check in and get all the details. So maybe start with the Pure Wave cell.
Okay.
And run it from when we, Dr. Havis was maybe before that, up in Trent University, how we started there, and show, and then that'll get into a bit more of what we did with the food pathogens, and just gives them a lot more visuals of what's going on with the cell. Okay,
let me see here if this is going to come through. You tell me if it's these are short segments, but I can clip and move through. Yeah, and this is going to work good. So let's listen here.
Yeah, start it there. Yeah. Started there.
Researchers at the University of Waterloo feel insecticides are compromising the bees' immune system. Dr. Magda Havas, Professor Emerita at Trent University School of the Environment, believes magnetic fields also play an important role in the health and wellness of the honeybee population.
We did some research at Trent University where we were studying the effects of radiofrequency radiation on the bees. We had some beehives at a farm and exposed them to current household items that we have that emit wireless radiation.
And so these are broken up in segments. Brent, this will give us
Yep, no problem.
ability if we need to share information in
Yep.
between. So
One of the things we noticed is that the bees started coming out of the hive very, very quickly.
You look at their behavior, they're all just quite happily, they're not running around, they're kind of very settled, they're fanning, they're keeping the place cool and protecting, because these ones are running up and down at the entrance. The sounds here is not normal.
So just to recap that real quick, you guys, that's with
Yep.
general household frequency, EMFs, and electrical, magnetic frequency, EMFs, dirty electricity, and so on, is causing these bees to go crazy, go haywire.
Yeah, so Jake and I, we noticed, we were involved in that, noticing it was a problem. So then we went in to changing that, and that's where we brought Dr. Havas. So carry on, show some.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Havas is participating in a long-term research study on the use of geomagnetic fields to enhance insect and human immune systems and negate the effects of environmental pollution that may be causing the collapse of the honeybee population. This research is based upon a geometric array of 12 high-intensity magnets that are encased inside a hard enclosure to create a pure wave cell. The opposing polarities of the magnets create a spiral vortex that emanate outwards in all directions. This spiral pattern can be observed with magnetic viewing film. Liquid ferrofluid placed in a dish on top of the pure wave cell shows the invisible, evenly spaced magnetic lines rising upwards. This is an internal view of the powerful neodymium magnets.
So again, Brent reviewed that. And so I just want to let everybody know we're kind of hitting a lot of notes here. Be patient, and we'll open this up to some Q&A when we're finished sharing some of these concepts. And so I'll continue on. Brent, do you want me to continue on and move through?
Yeah, I want to get to where the beekeepers chat a little bit. So let's go ahead. This will talk about the food. We'll do a show on this about how it takes pathogens and neutralizes food. Skip ahead to a few of the beekeepers so they can listen to them.
Mhm.
Skip ahead.
This is the research we did with the food pathogens.
Yep. And we're going to talk a whole bunch about that. But I'd like them to hear a little bit from the beekeepers as to what happened in there.
Great. Here we go.
Research on honey is carried out here.
The first year we had 10 magnets and we were quite happy with it. Last fall we ended up with 30 magnets in the one bee yard.
In this yard here, there's about 30 hives. This yard did not get the discs, and when I came in to unpack the hives, half the yard was dead, and the half that survived, there were barely any bees, and they were not looking good at all. And now in this yard, we wintered 30 hives in here. All 30 got the magnetic disc. When I unpacked it, all 30 were alive and overflowing with bees to the point where I had to split almost every hive in this yard. But it's swarming because they've run out of room. Like, it's just a super strong hive.
Mhm. I love it. The bees don't lie,
Yeah.
right? The bees aren't lying to you. A
Yeah,
bee can't
this
lie
is-
to your
this is
face.
And what I want, go ahead, click one more.
Okay, I'll click one more and then
Dr. Havas
And then
feels
we'll
that
chat.
the magnets are improving the immune system of the honeybee as they move through the pure wave magnetic field while foraging for nectar in the farms and forest. Many beekeepers have great success with the magnets, not only having a healthy hive, but they have found an increase in the yield of honey.
Okay, well, stop it there. Stop it there. So, on that note, not only were the bees thriving and had to be split, but then the honey production went way up. Which and I want to make a statement: if we're going to save the bees and broaden out the bee population, we have to help the beekeepers. The beekeepers control 95% of all bees. So what we do is, and a lot of them are small businesses and family businesses. So when we go in and help that and do it with honey production, that really, really allows them to spread out. So when we say we got a lot more honey out of it, what all of you were just witnessing and looking at in those hives, the honey that that Jake has been referring to, that you can get from Braveheart, is coming from those hives. You're actually looking at the hives where the honey's coming from. So now, Jake, what I'd like you to do is put the video on of the honey itself and show them that we got it from those hives and then what we do with it, right?
Mhm.
And then how we treat that. So let's show them the honey itself.
perfect.
And this is specifically the honey. Yeah.
And what I want to do is, give me just a moment, Brent. I'm just going to
No
pull
problem.
that video up here.
Yeah, because we can talk about it, but there's nothing like seeing it. So they've actually seen the hives and where we were bringing the honey from, and now that they can see where they're actually buying it from those beekeepers and those productions, and then what we do to the honey, right?
Mm-hmm. Let me find that.
Yeah, because, again, we can talk here about it, but there's nothing like seeing it and then seeing how we treat it and what we do. So it is a very special honey, and the feedback is phenomenal on the honey. Not only the best tasting honey that people have ever put in their mouth, but also what it's doing for them. So
Mhm.
I think you had that lined up even when we were starting, just at the beginning of it, right?
Yep, I got it here. And I'm going to.
So let everybody see that video.
Can you see it okay?
Yep.
If you are a honey connoisseur, you'll want to experience pure wave energized honey. It comes from the open pastures of the Grey Highlands, located in southern Ontario, Canada. The unique blend of nectar from wildflowers are a favorite for honeybees that pollinate open fields, farms, and forests within the Greater Golden Horseshoe Greenbelt. These bees produce one of the finest honeycombs in the world and are now under great stress. Pesticides are weakening the bee's immune system. It contributes to the growth of deadly pathogens. But there's a solution to that problem. This pure wave cell. It generates a quantum force field of spiral magnetic energy. It has been scientifically proven to deactivate pathogens. When placed inside a beehive, apiaries report an abundance of honey and healthy bees that survive Canada's frigid winters. The honey that comes from pure wave hives is raw, creamed, unpasteurized, and then energized using a special patented quantum technology. Pure Wave honey is a premium private labeled product packaged in a licensed facility that meets FDA and Canadian Food Inspection Agency regulations. It is then shipped to warehouses in Canada and the USA for further processing using the Chrysalis Energizer. The honey is bathed in the special frequencies originating from rotating neodymium magnets. The Chrysalis Energizer is manufactured here near Toronto, Canada. This is where the secret ingredient of a unique patented quantum technology was developed and brought to reality. It was originally developed as a Class 1 medical device.
What we're really dealing with here is magnetism into a geometric form and then putting motion to it. So what we have in the instrument is a very specifically cut neodymium magnets, very powerful, set into a sacred geometry shape, 12 of them inside. Then we put this into a situation into 3D. So then we place it where there's 5 of these placed in sequence in here.
Magnetic viewing film displays the pattern of the magnets that pulse the magnetic field as it rotates inside the 3 cylinders. The field intensity increases proportionally with the frequency that is selected. Years of research went into testing the device to determine the ideal frequencies and duration of exposure to fully saturate the honey. A magnetic probe attached to an oscilloscope shows the dominant frequency and the unique shape of the quantum wave. Electrography can be used to visualize the effect of the rotating magnetic field. A vial of honey is placed on the energizer. The corona discharge shows the amount of electrical conductivity of the raw honey. After energization, the entire content of the vial has become more conductive to electron flow. The electrographic image of the honey is used on the logo.
We wanted to then draw from what we've configured into the instrument and put it into a standalone unit, and this is what we use to go in the beehives.
A pure wave cell will emit a corresponding frequency and magnetic field if you rotate it. If you move the cell over your body, it will absorb your bioelectric field. The meter shows over 2,000 volts per meter emanating from inside the cell. Both the pure wave cell and the honey are sold directly to the consumer online. And you will find their products in stores that feature apiary products too. They are manufactured by 4R Bees, a company that provides a solution to beekeepers that want to maintain healthy, disease-free hives. Connoisseurs all over the world appreciate their energized nectar from nature.
Thanks, Jake, for that. So I just want to track back to that electrophography where we saw that you were actually looking at our honey coming in, and we took a little vial of it, and you could see what it looked like energetically. And then after treating it with the Chrysalis E, the electrons just explode out. So that's why we call it energized honey. So it's coming from those hives, and then we energize it, and that's the honey you're using and that you'll be consuming. And it's the results, and we'll have other testimonials and people and what phenomenally that honey has felt like to them and what it does. But honey is a fantastic ingredient and product anyway. So we just wanted to show you what made it different, why it's so different, where it's coming from, and what you're supporting. So that was the whole purpose of this first show, was to give a tidbit, talking a little bit about us so that we could introduce ourselves and show you more specifically where this comes from. But in future shows, we'll get into the nitty-gritty so that you can get right down and hear a lot more from the beekeepers, get into the fields, a lot more about the Pure Wave cell, where it comes from, why it works so well, testimonials on what it's doing with people and pets. And we get so much feedback on pets and this kind of thing. So I'm going to stop there because really at that point, Jake, they can talk a little bit more how they can, get a hold of it, more information. But we're just thrilled to be able to come on and do more presentations and show with you as to just how exciting. Like we have a whole thing coming up this spring and unpacking hives and what's going on dynamically and what we're doing with pollinating. So this is a worldwide thing that we have going on here. So I'll just stop there, Jake, and then they can, and maybe you have questions or whatever, right?
No, I think it's a good kind of just segue into opening it up for if there's any questions. I do want to just let everybody know that website is docofdetox.com/4Bs. I'm going to post it in the chat, and I don't know what platform you're on, if it's going to process through or not, but I'll just repeat it. It's Doc of Detox, Detox. So it's Daryl's site, docofdetox.com/4Bs. And you'll see the amazing promotion too and discount that Daryl is going to talk about right now. And we're going to just be here for you guys. This was an introduction. It's an honor to be here. There's a lot of just topics related to this that we have listed out where you're going to learn a lot more specifics about the benefits of honey, about all those supportive enzymes for your digestive health. And we know the digestion is the root of that immunity and that immune system. But this gave context a little bit about where we're coming from, who we are, and us being here as a regular guest for the Be Brave and the Braveheart Nation. So, Daryl, I'll pass the ball back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And guess what? You guys are going to learn so much beautiful science, not just about the bees, but yourself, about yourself. All right. This is a beautiful thing. This is going to be one of the most loved shows of Braveheart Nation that we're going to have, especially when we come out with the app. Okay. I figure that we'll have anywhere between 60 and 120 different shows. And the reality is these shows and the app was all built for you. It was all built for you because we can become a Braveheart Nation and we can learn how to love and care for ourselves and each other like we've never done before, because everything is a belief system. Now, as far as the Pure Wave magnet and the honey, like I said, up until Monday midnight, you can get 20% off on the first jar or first magnet, but 2 or more, 30% off. And listen, everybody, if you want to go to Doc of Detox Library and you go into the Be Brave World Guide, you will be able to see so much information on there already. And that's where all the shows are going to go. And even when we bring out the new Braveheart Nation app, you're going to find in the library that you'll be able to go back and watch every show. And then what we will do is every show will talk and show what topic is going to be in every show. So when we do actually the Braveheart Nation app, and no matter how many shows we have, we are going to have the person who does the show to actually tell you what is in the show at specific different segments so that you can go back and take a look at that recipe, that strategy, that bit of science that can prove to yourself and to your family that you're on the right track with what you're thinking. I want to thank Jake and I want to thank Brent for coming on. You know, this is actually the first outside show coming inside, because that's where we need to go. We need to go inside to find the answers. And the reality is this, it's the first outside show coming inside that will be part of the Braveheart Nation worldwide, okay, shows that we are going to be doing. Brent and Jake, how would you guys like to just finish off the show? I think that you should practice that because you're going to have to start. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you start off, Jake.
I would just like to say we need to start being present. We need to start being more collaborative. We need to start being more free. And we need to start being more brave. So I'm going to pass the ball back to you, Brent, and you can have your last words of wisdom for us.
Yeah, well, thanks, Jake. What I would say out there is what you'll realize, and Daryl is a big part of bringing this up, is once you realize that you go beyond your fear, and you are being amazing, is that you'll find out that your capabilities and what you're about is greater than you could ever imagine. And it's the same. We're just humble guys that come from backgrounds that were the same as you, and that what we decided to do was just look a little deeper into nature and then follow that. And what comes out of it is unbelievable. So be amazing, and we'll see you each week. And we will get into showing you some incredible stuff that we've discovered and that we want to share with you.